Israel is in crisis. Its Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu faces growing opposition, not just from demonstrators on the streets, but also from the Israeli president, as well as Supreme Court. Amid massive demonstrations against Netanyahu's decision to fire Shin Bet chief Ronen Bar, Israel's Supreme Court issued an injunction on Friday, temporarily freezing Bar's dismissal. Before this, as his cabinet has moved to fire Israel's domestic security chief, Israeli President Isaac Herzog warned of an alarming political breakdown. It's already clear that Israel is deeply divided internally amid the war in Gaza. Is it now on the brink of an internal collapse? Here's why we ask this. President Herzog's rare rebuke is a sign of deep fractures within the government. On Thursday, Herzog expressed concern over steps taken by Netanyahu's government, just a few hours before the cabinet fired the head of Shin Bet. In a video statement, he said, and I quote, "It is impossible not to be deeply troubled by the harsh reality unfolding before our eyes. It is unthinkable to resume fighting while still pursuing the sacred mission of bringing our hostages home. Thousands of reserve duty call-ups have recently been issued, and it is inconceivable to send our sons to the front line simultaneously, while advancing divisive and controversial initiatives that create deep rifts within our nation," unquote. Without naming him, the Israeli president not only criticized Netanyahu's decision to resume war in Gaza, this while Israeli hostages, including some who are known to be alive, remain in Gaza. He asked the decision makers to assess whether the decision to go back to war in Gaza really strengthens so-called national resilience. Remember, earlier this week, Netanyahu announced a return to the war in Gaza, sending in ground troops. This was after talks on extending the truce with the Palestinian militant group Hamas, which had allegedly reached a dead end. But the Israeli president is not the only one questioning Netanyahu's motives. The Israeli public is angry and continued to take their anger to the streets, even if it meant clashing with the Israeli security personnel. On Friday, Israeli demonstrators tried to breach police barriers leading to the Israeli Prime Minister's residence in Jerusalem. They demanded his resignation. They scuffled with police, who blocked their access to the street. Footage showed demonstrators chanting, "Time to overthrow the dictator," as anger simmers over Netanyahu's government. In fact, one demonstrator said they were concerned about the last days of Israel as a democracy.
I am looking at the end of the way of Israel as we knew it in the past. We are very concerned that these are the last days of Israel as a democracy. We are here to try and change this course, but the chances are not very high.
And a day earlier on Thursday, thousands of Israelis braved the rain as well as plunging temperatures in Jerusalem to raise their voice against Netanyahu's decision to return to war, which they see as forsaking the hostages. The demonstrators also voiced opposition to Netanyahu's bid to oust Ronen Bar, head of the Shin Bet Internal Security Agency. But after 3 days of demonstrating against the move, the Israeli cabinet today voted early to dismiss the head of the Shin Bet, effective April 10th. Israelis demonstrating Bar sacking have joined forces with demonstrators angry at the decision to resume fighting in Gaza. In Gaza, Israeli attacks have killed nearly 600. Israel's military says a ground invasion of southern Gaza's Rafah is underway, and troops are pushing into the north near the town of Beit Lahaya and other central areas. And according to UNICEF, at least 200 children have been killed. That's since Israel resumed its war on the besieged Palestinian enclave this week. But even before the latest escalation, Israelis have held regular demonstrations against Netanyahu's government. At this point, it has become increasingly clear that Netanyahu's thirst for blood is not only deepening the humanitarian catastrophe in Gaza, but it is also exacerbating tensions across the region and pushing West Asia towards instability. Look at the spillover effects in Syria, Lebanon and Yemen. One can't help but wonder, does Netanyahu have a long-term strategy for Gaza, or is he just waging a campaign of destruction with no exit strategy?